That's it. And good morning.
Good morning.
We were jaw-jacking about something that we're going to cover in a minute here and let the music run out on the intro. Sorry about that. So, how we doing, guys?
I'm good. I don't get Dan Burks' whatever he's saying.
Where
Is it, or should I
good
say,
actor? I think he just
is it a mistype?
yeah.
Probably
the G's
just a
right after
mistype.
the F.
Right.
Okay.
Anyhow,
so
it's Firearms Friday.
it is, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Buffalo shooting, but I don't want to make the whole show about it. You guys have probably heard enough about it, but there's a couple of points that I want to cover. Cameron, I don't know that we're going to be able to find this. What we got here?
Apparently, everybody retweeted the same thing,
Apparently,
so it's just
so it's just him.
there's got to be a way to filter. Oh, now we're to the 16th. There we go. Oh yeah, hey, didn't you watch 2,000 Mules
yes,
last night?
I went to. And my mom and dad went with me. We went and watched 2,000 Mules last night with Vernon, and a bunch of GOP members from Putnam County and Greene County. Pretty good turnout. Theater was packed, and yeah, they just rented a theater space at a very nice theater in Greensboro. And we're not going to end up discussing 2,000 Mules on this show, not even off YouTube on Rumble or one of those, because it covers some very specific topics, and I'm not talking about the amphibious priapism. It covers some very specific, sensitive information that I can't discuss generally, let alone on air. So, but I will say, if you haven't seen it, see it. And all the naysayers, like, I'm sorry, Alex. Everything that you've said about there's no evidence in here that it doesn't prove anything, you're wrong. You don't understand how evidence works. And you clearly don't understand specifically how this type of evidence works. So it's definitely worth seeing.
Shots fired. Oh, you know what? I couldn't find the thing that I was looking for, but this is almost as good because it's true and it makes the point. And so, yeah, I mean it's not bad.
It's not true. Gun control in this country does have a racist origin. Democrats were afraid that their slaves would start shooting them. But to say the same about Hitler confiscating all the guns, or the Chinese, or anybody else, that all is all. So it's not true, but it's an interesting sentiment. Now, on to the Buffalo situation.
Well, and there's a look.
Habeas corpses, that's solid.
Yes, that does sound. Look, but there's a reason why I wanted to mention Maj Toure, because of what he said in response to this. So, do you want to set up the shooting and then talk about his response, or just go straight from his response and then go into the shooting? And because it's essentially the same discussion.
Yes. So, okay. Most of you are already tracking that last weekend there was and this went badly because not enough people watch this show and follow the safety brief, right? Keep calm and carry one. There was a shooting in Buffalo, New York, at a grocery store. The narrative is that the shooter was a white man who was spun up on the Great Replacement theory.
So he was Democrat.
Which, yeah. That's,
So I mean, so seriously, so he was a mid 20th century far leftist. Okay, I'm tracking.
yeah, hell, modern far leftist. They keep talking about... Okay, so the Democrats will tell you two things at the same time. They will tell you that there is a conspiracy theory called the Great Replacement Theory, and if you believe in that, then you're a racist. Specifically, you're a National Socialist. And that makes you every Republican. And we're all sitting here like, you did catch the socialist part of that. Because, I mean, I'm far more likely to shoot down a bunch of commies than a bunch of brothers.
No, well,
Like,
Chris,
that's just the facts.
and Antifa are the good guys because Antifa means anti-fascist.
And the funny thing about that is the original Antifa and the modern Antifa are a socialist organization. They're commies. Now, somehow, the modern commie, the modern communist, is also the modern fascist, because they've got this idea that, Marx's theory of controlling the means of production should be done through the power of the state rather than through the function of revolution. And by definition, fascism is the state controlling industry, right? So you got all that, and the same Democrats will tell you that there's this racist conspiracy theory called the Great Replacement, and that the browning of America, and that's the phrase they use.
Yep.
That the browning of America is ongoing and a good thing.
Yeah, diversity is our strength. Eventually, everybody in this country will be a minority. There will be no more 50% plus one majority in this country. But the Great Replacement Theory, you fucking racist, how dare you think that this is a thing that happened, okay?
And all the while, you've got these Democrats working day and night to guarantee an increase in influx of illegal immigration, right? And specifically illegal immigration from Mexico, and not just Mexicans, but it comes across the Mexican border. And one of the we've discussed border security many times in the past. One of the many reasons that border security is such an important thing, apart from the Democrat absolute dedication to the proposition that demographics are destiny, which is not a theory that we espouse. It's a fact that they state repeatedly and without a hint of shame. They're just completely dedicated to the idea. I lost the top of that train of thought.
Well, I'll bring it back around. Okay, so demography and destiny, and obviously this kid was. I think we can assume he was crazy, and
Agreed.
Like that's.
Well, I mean, he wrote a manifesto about his socialism and then killed a bunch of people.
Right. Yeah, and was racist in the killing. And look, as far as racial supremacy is concerned, the reason why I continue to reject anything along those lines is because in order to do that, you have to get rid of individualism, and I can't do that. I have to see people as individuals. The individual is the ultimate minority. So, and it is what it is. I am less concerned about your intersectionality and your skin color and your privilege and all of your, you know what, shut up, okay? Because there are people that are born to privilege that are absolute spoiled shitheads. And there are people that are born to poverty that become doctors. And everything across the spectrum in between. Stop it. Just stop it, okay? Now, here's why I wanted to reference Maj Toure in reference to this kid and the fact that he drove to Buffalo to murder a bunch of people for racist reasons.
Hold on. Not just for racist reasons.
Hold on. Well, let me just finish, okay? He drove to Buffalo to murder him for, in this context at least, racist reasons. Because he knew he was driving to an area that was a target-rich environment and that had really strict gun control laws. Okay? This
and that was
kid,
in the manifesto.
That's right. It was in the manifesto. This kid drove to this particular grocery store, even though it was hours away, because he knew the odds of him encountering significant armed resistance were very, very low. And whenever you look at one of these types of mass shooting situations, there's a universal constant. It's in a gun-free zone. It's in a city or state that has gun control laws, right? You can say what you want about Marjorie Taylor Greene and her district and the people that elected her, but there's never going to be a mass shooting in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. It's just not going to happen because everybody out there is armed.
There. Oh no, there very well may be a mass shooting in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. One nut job's going to show up in a public place and draw his weapon and scream some epithet and shoot one person, and then a mass of people are going to shooting the fuck out of him.
You know, it reminds me of this, I forget the name of the comedian, but he's got this fantastic joke that's like, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I mean, yeah, it rolls off the tongue, but that's not happening in Texas, okay? That's like the Washington State Chainsaw Massacre. Because in Texas, some psycho shows up wearing a mask and a chainsaw, and all the Texans are going to be like, oh, really? Yes!
So I don't know what's going on with Twitch today. We've got quite a pile of trolls, but Kyle's mom really wants to talk about sexual deviancy, and that's just not what we're talking about on the show today. But, you know, hey, nice try, groomer.
See, but here's what Maj Toure said, and it was the tweet that I was looking for, and I should have just retweeted it myself. But what he said is the shooter never should have been taken alive. There should have been so much return fire from armed citizens, the coroner would have needed to bring a trash bag in order to do his job. And I agree. Like, wholeheartedly. We met Maj Toure once. He was wearing a shirt that said Black Guns Matter. I had no idea that he was a big deal. I just saw this dude wearing a shirt that said Black Guns Matter, and I walked up to him and was like, brother, that shirt is on, like, it's like an onion. It's on levels. And he was like, I know. Why do you think I'm wearing it?
And that was actually before Black Lives Matter was a thing.
No, Black Lives Matter. That's part of why he was wearing the shirt.
That was 2017. That was 2017. Yeah, it was at the big NRA gun show / Trump rally in Atlanta.
Yeah,
at the CNN building.
Yes, yes, at the CNN building, which was temporarily the safest place in all of Atlanta for 3 days straight.
Yep, while the Mercedes-Benz stadium was still under construction.
So aren't you guys nervous with all these guns around? No. No, I'd go to sleep right here in the street, man. It's about as safe as safe gets.
One of the displays that weekend they had this, like, it was just a display. They had the sandbags out, and they had the M240 perched up on it. And I looked at the guy. I was like, "Hey, can I? You mind if I snuggle with it for a little bit?"
Right. So, but long story short, okay, you really want to. We talked about this before. How you say you're a feminist and you're not armed. Well, you're a liar. You're not dedicated to the proposition of feminism, okay? Because God made man and then Sam Colt made him equal. Like, that's just a fact. And it's the same thing. If you claim to be some type of anti-racist, or you want to fight white supremacy, or you want to fight the power, or whatever your version of that bullshit anti-patriarchy narrative is, fine. You should be armed, because in the rare instance that some psychopath like this kid shows up and starts blasting holes in your grocery store, you're nothing but a bunch of fucking sheep when you're unarmed. And I'm not trying to victim blame here, but facts are facts. And it is what it is. If even 10% of the people in that grocery store had been armed, this kid doesn't shoot 13 people.
Right.
He shoots 3 or 4 people,
well,
max.
It really is this simple.
Or he doesn't go to that goddamn grocery store in the first place.
Right, because he picked it based on that. The fact of the matter there is this. If you are not dangerous, if you do not have the capacity to cause great harm at will, you cannot be a good person. Let me say that again. If you are not dangerous, you cannot be a good person. The best you can be is harmless. Pacifism is the opposite of decency. Pacifism is a dedication to the proposition that nothing has value greater than non-conflict. That nothing has value greater than human life. But the fact is this: not all human lives are of equal value. When the enemy draws fire, when the enemy draws down to cause harm to other people, and you are incapable of doing the good thing and identifying this is a person who is an active threat that seeks to cause harm to people who do not deserve it, and I choose to disallow that harm. If you do not have the ability to assume that authority and disallow that harm, you cannot make the moral choice there. You are merely harmless.
Well, I mean, refusing to make a choice is making a choice, and it's the coward's way out. Well, it's the truth, okay? I mean, and seriously.
It's a great song.
Well, no, I mean, I was actually going to quote the Bible, you know, be ye hot or be ye cold, but if you're lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, this is not a gun control problem.
Do we like Salman Rushdie?
Okay? It never
I
was
like
a gun...
Novalox. Sorry.
It never was a gun control problem. Sincerely, okay? And I like what Atom Bomb says. If the government says you don't need a gun, you need a gun. I agree, okay? And top comment award.
There you go, Adam.
That. And in all sincerity, I've said this before, okay? Repeal all federal gun law. Well, the federal gun law that says, yep, the federal gun law that says that. Whatever you were about to ask me. Repeal that federal gun law. Oh, so you're okay with black people having guns? Absolutely. You're okay with ex-felons having guns? Well, they've paid their debt to society, so absolutely. So you're okay with people that have been through this and that? Yes, absolutely. Okay? Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed, because when that right is infringed, you get what happened in Buffalo. Okay? And it's not my imagination. This psychopath wrote in his manifesto that he would be more comfortable. I forget the exact quote, but he was basically comforted in knowing that nobody was going to be able to fight back. Okay? Like, he was a wolf in a hen house, and he knew it.
He wanted somebody who could make him comfortable until we could have a conversation.
I mean, it just... And then, of course... you've got the diaper in chief. Boy, the left, they just can't wait to capitalize on these things. You know, this might be one of those things where we need to put aside our good graces. We typically try and stay out of the fray for a few days when these things happen, out of respect for the families and the dead. But the Democrats are unencumbered by such morality. Okay, so it might be time for us to recognize that doing the same thing, they're so quick to rush to a microphone and go, oh, this is why we need more gun control. Oh. Maybe we need to be unafraid and unashamed.
About the sucker line.
Yeah, and maybe we need to be unafraid and unashamed to be like, no, this is why we need less gun control.
Yep.
Stop it. Stop taking human beings and turning them into sheep. Stop it! Wow, man, this happened a week ago, and I'm still this fired up about it.
Yes, corpses, we're talking about you. So, yeah, whenever you hear him pointing the finger, oh, it's Tucker Carlson's fault because he talked about the white replacement theory, or it's
Yes, it's Tucker Carlson's fault. He gets like 2.5 million viewers a night out of a nation of 330 million. But it's totally Tucker Carlson's fault.
It's Steven Crowder's fault because he says the word gun on his show. No. There are some very, very clear lines of commonality in all of these mass shootings, and those are, with the exception of the one Luby's in Texas that one time 20 years ago, they always occur in gun-free zones, right? If it's not a tight gun control state, like Georgia, for example. Georgia is not a state with a lot of gun control, with real heavy gun control laws. But when we had our mass shooting that we were at, it was at a high school because it's a gun-free zone. So make no mistake, every time one of these shootings happens and is allowed to continue because the people in the location have been disarmed by unconstitutional laws passed by traitors. And I'm absolutely mean that every elected politician who has signed onto, who has co-sponsored, who has voted in support, and that includes any Republicans that meet that description, of any law which infringes the right of the people to keep and bear arms, has committed treason against the United States Constitution. It really is that simple. And they bear the entire responsibility for that shooting occurring. They made it possible by making you weak, by making you harmless.
There is actually something in the comments that I'd like to address. Somebody suggests that it's always a right-winger. Actually, no, it's quite literally almost never a right-winger.
Right.
Like, this guy up in Buffalo was not a right-winger.
And they try to say, so the conflation happens here. The Democrat narrative is this: the shooters are racist. All racists are right-wing. Therefore, all shooters are right-wing. And that's simply false. I mean, you want to look for racism, you have to go to the left. The reason there is so much talk about racism in the media is because there really just isn't that much there.
Well,
they've discovered that it's a thing that they can talk about that gets people's blood pumping. But the fact is that the demand far outstrips the supply. And so the Democrat propaganda machine is in the business of manufacturing racism. But if you go and read these guys' manifestos, they're always socialists or communists who are they're mad about Democrats not being aggressive enough on pushing social policies and things like that. They're very, very seldom right-wingers. And I'm not even going so far as to say they fit perfectly into the left-wing sphere. They're violent extremists. But they are far more left than right.
Yeah, and I also think there's another reason why they always bring up race, and it's a simple psychological concept known as projection. The thing that you see in other people and just hate. Like, if you can't stand it when other people are assholes in traffic, for example, maybe you yourself are actually an asshole in traffic. If you cannot stand other people's bad table manners, maybe you yourself actually have poor table manners. And if you see racists under every rock, maybe you're the racist, buddy. because I'm the one that doesn't care that we have to have a black female to the Supreme Court. No, I don't give a shit. I care if Ketanji Brown is qualified and adheres to the Constitution. That's it. That is all I care about. Her race and ethnicity, just piss up a rope with that. I'm so tired of it. And that's the thing. I'm tired of it.
Okay, I want to address just one or two more comments, and then we need to get the safety brief, and I need to get over to Connolly. So, the sour milk of human kindness. Maybe if you stream online to defend mass shooters, maybe you're a mass shooter. That's adorable. So to be clear, our full-throated defense of mass shooters this morning has been repeal all gun laws so that if a mass shooting begins to occur, there's just too much lead in that particular salad for Sunshine to walk away from.
Right? So did you watch the stream? I could see, sometimes we get deep into the weeds and I could see how you're confused by the point that we're making. But I feel like we've been pretty crystal clear here. And let me just make it clear. I say arm the world. Everybody 18 and up should own a firearm. Done!
Yeah, I might even go a little younger than 18.
Well, I mean, just... There's got to be a point.
I just got here and I'm high on PCP. Well, then you should be able to take quite a number of shots.
So yeah, that's.
So the other one, Dad pointed out. Sergeant Major said the mental illness is the most frequent common denominator. I would say that mental illness is a prerequisite. The most common denominator, apart from, and I'm not arguing your point, but I think this is a point worth making. The other most common denominator is a fatherless home. So, yeah, feminism. You're not a real feminist if you don't carry a gun, and not real feminism. The feminism that you think of when you think of feminism is also largely to blame for the phenomenon of the existence of mass shooters. Because almost without exception, we're looking at people with mental illness who grew up without a father.
And look, Pooh9 has been trying to troll all day, but you actually accidentally backed into a point that's really important. So he says everyone needs guns, otherwise it would be really hard to justify shooting one another. Brother, you don't understand gun culture, and I could tell by the absolute ignorance of that statement. I grew up around firearms. My father was giving me firearms safety lessons when I was still in single digits, and Chris grew up the same. There are guns very close at hand to where we're sitting right now. There are guns basically everywhere around us and have been our entire lives, and there's never been an accidental shooting, which there's no such thing as, but whatever. There's never been a mass shooting. There's never been anything, okay? Because armed people have a tendency to be polite. It's that whole thing about pacifism. It's the ability to do violence and to choose peace. That's not the same thing as pacifism, brother. So this whole thing, well, everybody needs a gun to justify shooting one another. No, it's like an umbrella. I keep it in the car. I know it's not going to rain every day, but I don't want to be caught out in a fucking thunderstorm without it.
So, yeah, I've been around guns my whole life. I haven't shot anybody in like 10 years. Jim McCarthy says the need for guns precedes the need for government. We have done a few shows where we have discussed not the theory, not the idea, but the absolute immutable fact that war is prior to ethics. And, Jim, keep an eye out on this. Make sure you subscribe and keep an eye out for the next time we have that conversation. I'm not going to go into it right now because we're already over time and I have to get going.
And it's likely to happen on Fridays, by the by.
Exactly. We are going into the weekend. Should be a good weekend. The weather report doesn't look quite as optimistic as I had hoped it would, as we're having a bit of a birthday party over here.
Just a bit of one.
But
Anyhow.
Let's see. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Tomorrow's looking pretty good. It was supposed to be thunderstorms all day tomorrow, and it looks like it's cleared up for us a little bit. So good stuff. So birthday party tomorrow. Those who know, and we can't wait to see you. Love you guys. Be safe out there. So here's your safety brief. Don't drive drunk. Don't fry bacon naked. And keep calm and carry one. Y'all be safe this weekend. We love you, and we'll see you Monday morning.